Good morning, it's Anand here from Osho, Ireland, and today is the 103rd meditation technique from the Osho Book of Secrets. And I'm back in Ireland, so it was lovely last week being in Venice. And this technique is, Osho calls it do not fight with desire. And the instructions are, with your entire consciousness in the very start of desire, of knowing no. Osho says that the basic thing for this technique is entire consciousness. And he shares that if you can bring your entire consciousness to anything, it will become a transforming force. The transformation happens whenever you are entire in it, in anything. But that is difficult because wherever we are only there in part, never in entirety. So just to reflect on this with your entire consciousness, Osho goes on and explains that our approach to everything is usually partial. We very rarely put our entire self, our entire totality into listening, or in my case, reading these instructions. I observed that I was reading the instructions and reading what he's written. And then there was this voice in the back of my mind going, oh, 3 minutes to go, or 5 minutes, or, whatever it is. I wasn't whole. I wasn't total in the way when I was reading. And so I only get bits of it. But when you put your entire consciousness in something, it itself becomes a meditation. And that's what is important with your entire consciousness. In whatever you do, that can in itself become a meditation. But he goes on to say, in this sutra, Shiva says, with your entire consciousness in the very start of desire, of knowing no. Osho goes on to say, if a desire arises within you, Tantra doesn't say to fight it. That is futile. No one can fight a desire. It is foolish also because whenever you start fighting with something within you, you are fighting with yourself. You will become schizophrenic. Your personality will be split. And all these so-called religions have helped humanity to by and by become schizophrenic. Everybody is split, everybody is divided and fighting with himself because so-called religions have told you, this is bad, don't do this. If the desire comes, what to do? And Osho goes on to explain, Tantra says don't fight the desire. But that doesn't mean you become a victim of it. So he's saying, Tantra is like saying you don't fight the desire, but you also don't need to indulge in it. So for a minute, just reflect on something that you desire a lot, whether it's smoking, sugar, gambling, alcohol, compulsive, all the time maybe on social media, all the time doing a specific activity or a sport to the exclusion of everything. Where it causes loss of energy, where it causes harm for you. And we all know what those things can be. So reflect on that desire. How does it feel for you? How does it impact you? And with that desire, you can play with this technique, whatever it is for you. Osho goes on to say, when desire arises, be alert just at the beginning with your entirety. So we talked earlier about our entire consciousness. Look at it with your entirety. Become the look. Don't leave the looker behind. Bring your total consciousness to this arising desire. This is a very subtle method, but wonderful. Miraculous are its effects. So Osho says there are three things to be understood. First, once the desire has already arisen, so in my case it's sugar. I love sugar, I'm addicted to it. And when the craving grabs hold of me, I have to have it. I have to go and buy chocolate or sweets or wine or whatever it is. I have to get it. And he says once that's taken over, you could fight it. And I've also done that. I could say, okay, I'm not going to have the wine, or I'm not going to have the chocolate. I'm not. Can you see and hear how much energy goes into that you're fighting the desire? And let's say for 2 days you don't eat sugar, or I don't eat sugar for 2 days, but all my energy is consumed thinking about sugar or thinking about something. Osho says that's useless. You're wasting energy fighting it. So he says when it's taken its full course, it has to complete itself. And I've witnessed this myself. So he says that whatsoever you do will create more anguish, dissipation of energy, frustration, weakness. When the desire arises just at the beginning, just at the first glimpse, bring your total consciousness at the entirety of your being to look at it. Don't do anything, nothing else is needed. With the entire being, the look is so fiery that the seed is burned with no struggle, with no conflict. And he goes on to say that when that disappears, you feel powerful. So he says just to focus on the desire at the very beginning. He also says, remember, this is basic, without any fight, with just a look, not even an antagonistic look, not even with a mind to destroy, with no enmity, just a total look. In the intensity of that total look, the seed is burned. And when the arising desire disappears, just like smoke in the sky, you are left with tremendous energy. That very energy is bliss. So in this technique, we can't do it together right now. But what I would say is pick a desire that you're aware of. And as it arises at the very beginning, give it a total look. See what happens. And I just want to close with this, because this for me has lots of meaning. Osho says, the so-called saints who are fighting their desires are always ugly. When I say ugly, I mean they are always mean, fighting. Their whole personality becomes graceless, and they are always weak, always lacking energy, because all their energy is used up in the inner fight. Buddha is totally different, and the grace that has come to Buddha's personality is the grace of desires disappearing without any struggle or fight, without any inner violence. So in closing, I'd like for all of us to reflect a time where you've really fought against a desire, or you've observed others fighting against a desire. For example, perhaps a person doesn't like to eat food or feels shame eating food, so they starve themselves or eat very little. 9 times out of 10, they are consumed with the thought of food. and their entire energy goes on that. Is that the best way to live? Is it the best way to be? Or someone who was a former smoker, who quit smoking, and they look at everyone else smoking and they give out and they shout and they are smoking's bad, smoking's wrong. They become very anti-smoking. Have they actually quit smoking? Have they dropped smoking? Or are they still consumed by the desire of it that gets misdirected to something else? This is just something to think about. I find that this technique is a very beautiful, empowering technique, and one that I certainly am going to work with. So it's to use your entire consciousness at the very beginning of a desire, is to look, to know, to see. I hope that you have fun with this technique, and I will see you next Sunday at 11 a.m. for the 104th meditation. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.